Hello and welcome back to Mark's Garden UK at Rose Cottage near Nantwich in Cheshire. And it's time for the July garden tour and update, and there's a lot to update you on. What a difference a month makes. I remember standing here for the June update and I was wearing a thick coat, and here we are in the middle of July heading into a 4-day heat wave, and temperatures at the weekend are forecast to be the highest ever on record, possibly even going into the 40s centigrade. I usually start off at the front of the cottage with the parterre because that's the first project I tackled when I moved in here 6 months ago. The parterre hasn't really changed much. There's nothing much to report on. So let's start off with these amazing Agapanthus. I've got my hat with me because every time I do a video in the sun and I'm not wearing a hat, my mum sends me a message, "Where's your hat, Mark?" So here's my hat, mum. Right, Agapanthus. These I was hoping would be a little bit further on, but we did have quite a cool May and June. So I think they're a little bit behind schedule, but I'm pretty sure with the heat that's coming this weekend, they're going to make up for it. And I think by the next update, and for several updates thereafter, this will be a sea of beautiful round spherical blooms. I love Agapanthus. They remind me of a holiday I once had in South Africa many years ago. Some of these are hardy and some of them are not hardy. I will do a video later in the year explaining the differences between the two. Some are white, some are blue, and some are white with a hint of blue, so I've got a lovely mix here. They seem to thrive on neglect. The more pot-bound they become, the more flowers they produce. Conversely, just after I've split them or repotted them, I get fewer blooms, and I can't wait now for these to really open up and be in the pomp, and that is going to happen certainly with this hot weather. So by the August update, I'll be able to give you a really good viewing of these wonderful plants. I've got a lot to show you this time, including the new shaded patio, an update on the olive tree pruning, an update on the brilliant Wildflower Meadow. But before we go there, I want to show you some bird of paradise, which again I've got at the front of the cottage in this south facing border. And here are the bird of paradise. Two different types, Strelitzia regina at the front and Strelitzia nicolai at the back. Nicolai is a giant version of bird of paradise. Again located in the south facing front garden in between two more pots of miniature Agapanthus. These two came from one plant and it was looking a little bit sorry for itself, so I decided to take drastic action and I tore it all apart, took all the soil off it, and I replanted it into two different pots of very gritty, well-drained soil. I've positioned it in the sun and it was feeling a little bit sorry for itself for a few weeks, but look now, here we're starting to see the results because there's a beautiful new leaf coming out here and there's also one down here. So that tells me these plants are starting to feel much happier, and I hope they bloom, because if they do, I can't wait to show you the Strelitzia flower, the bird of paradise. It looks just like a bird of paradise. You've probably seen them. This one here, again, it's just been potted up into a bigger pot, into well-drained gritty soil. And if I rotate it towards the camera, look at these wonderful new leaves. Beautiful. Neither of these are hardy plants. They have to go back inside in the winter time. I want to show you the olives next, which I pruned in March, but en route I'll stop off at the Alpine Trough. This is my large stone trough which I discovered at the front of the cottage in the undergrowth when I first moved in. It took me a whole weekend to move it here. I had to be innovative. I did some wooden rollers that I made out of some old tree trunks, as I imagined the Druids used to move the stones for Stonehenge. This pot here has some alpines in it. These have been in this pot for over 15 years. I'm going to give them a new life. I'm going to create an alpine trough. So that will be the subject of a forthcoming video. Whilst I'm here, Brian gave me 3 mints: apple mint, spearmint and garden mint. So That's inspired me. I'm going to make a herb garden just outside the kitchen door so I can pick at it for my recipes. And also, whilst we're here, have a look at this. This is one of the 2 tiny little miniature standard olive trees which I've just rescued, in inverted commas, from Morrison's. They were actually reduced from £17 to about £7. I did a video called Olive Tree Rescue where I took it all apart and diagnosed what could be going wrong with it. Anyway, in my mind it turned out that there wasn't enough drainage, so I've repotted them. I've given them a good prune. Give that a month. By the August update, I'm pretty sure that will be covered in lots of lovely new leaves. I'm going to show you the results of olive tree pruning in a moment when we go to the Mediterranean scented border. This is what I call the Mediterranean scented border. It's a long border at the side of the cottage, and I've planted scented plants in it so that when you walk past you pick up all the smells. I've got some thyme here right next to the path. You only need to brush past it and you get a beautiful herbal Mediterranean scent. But here I've also planted my 4 large standard lollipop olive trees. I want to show you the results of the pruning. These 2 were not pruned this year, they were pruned last year, and as you can see they filled out into lovely round healthy looking bushes. I've also recently planted them in the ground and that's going to help sustain them. Let's have a look at the 2 that I pruned in March, and here they are at the other end of the Mediterranean scented border. These 2 were pruned really hard back in March. You should prune olives in the growing season from the end of spring onwards. I gave these a really severe haircut because I'm trying to train them back into a pom-pom shape. I'd let them get a bit leggy because I was trying to get fruit off them, but this year I'm going for structure and shape, so I'm training them back into a lollipop. Now when I pruned them, it was a nervous moment because I took 1/2 to 2/3 of the growth off. I'll put some footage alongside me speaking now so that you can see how they looked just after pruning. But now, after a couple of months in the ground with a little bit of heat, feed and watering, thousands of beautiful little green leaves are starting to appear. And I think probably by the end of the summer that will be a lovely round bush just like the first 2. And in fact this one is not doing quite as well as this one here, and what I put that down to is light. That one gets slightly less light than this one, and with olive trees it's all about drainage, warmth and light. I want to show you next my new little miniature Colocasia farm, and here it is in this small border next to the old pig pen. I'm calling it a Colocasia farm because I intend propagating these plants and multiplying them and then selling them on the internet. All these plants in this border, and there are 18 of them, came from one bulb 4 years ago. I've already given 6 away, and this week I tried an experiment. I sent one of these little plants up to a friend of mine called Colin in Scotland to see if it can survive the mail order process. By all accounts it's doing well, so next year I shall be digging these up and selling them, so if you want one, keep in touch. These plants have an interesting propagation habit. They send out little pups in a ring around the original corm, and then you can divide them off and plant them as I've done here. The corm or rhizome is also known as taro, and it's edible. Apparently if you peel it, boil it and roast it, it tastes like sweet potato. That's a food crop in Asia. I'm hoping it's going to become a cash crop in Nantwich. Let's go and have a look at the new cool shaded fern garden and patio. I'm so pleased with this new little area of my garden. It's taken a lot of work. This was an empty space with 3 big concrete slabs which I had to dig up and move manually. Then I enriched all the soil, and then I put this patio in. Again, another first for me. I've never done a patio before. You can see the video on the patio on my channel, but I'm really very pleased with the results. And now I've planted it out with my collection of tree ferns. I've lined the entrance with 2 vertical tree ferns to create a kind of gateway, and there's going to be a new windy little path to come in and out, and that windy path will give a sense of mystery and intrigue. And those tree ferns fronds will meet at the top and form a little gateway into this secret hidden world. In here I've got lots of shade loving plants, hostas, tree ferns, arum lilies, mind your own business, several different types of ferns, and at the back I've put a screen of bamboo to act as a backdrop. That's not planted in the ground, that's still in pots. Just beyond the cool, shady courtyard with the new patio, a couple of months ago I planted out a tropical border. This enjoys great light throughout the day. So in here I've put things like tetrapanics, ginger, lots of cannas, a couple of red bananas, and we've just bought another banana to add to our collection. This is the red stripe variety. It doesn't get fully red leaves, but it has a very striking red stripe up the back of the leaf. I'll be doing a video on that very soon. Another one of my next jobs will be to create some kind of irrigation system around this L-shaped border. Possibly something that drips constantly from a water butt, so that the feet of all these plants are kept moist whilst they're enjoying the direct sunlight. My objective is that that whole wall there is covered up by plants and leaves growing skywards. Very soon the cannas will be producing their flowers. I'll be able to show you that in the August video. A quick visit to my miniature veg plot before finally we get to the wildlife corner of the garden. This area of my garden has done incredibly well and totally exceeded my expectations. £3 worth of seeds from Aldi has produced all this food. I've even got 2 bulk bags here with crops growing out of the top of those. I've already had a crop of radish. I've got so many different varieties of lettuce, purple sprouting broccoli, beetroots. I've discovered that many of these lettuce are cut and come again lettuce, so basically you can pull leaves off and eat them and it will grow back. Beetroots don't like being moved, so they're going to stay there, as are the carrots. The carrots have benefited by being in a raised bed because apparently carrot fly flies around at ground level and doesn't see it or smell it. But some of these crops I do intend to transplant into my no-dig veg plot, which I did a couple of weeks ago. Again, of course, there's a no-dig veg plot video on my channel. I've got a few herb seedlings in this homemade cold frame as well, which I'll soon be planting into my new herb garden by the kitchen door. Let's walk through the Nomo Lawn, past the no-dig veg plot on the way to the wildlife area of the garden. So this is my Nomo lawn, which then became a Nomo June lawn and is now a Nomo July lawn. And in fact, it's going to be a Nomo 22 lawn because I don't intend mowing this until the end of the year. And even then, I'm considering going over it with some kind of scythe and cutting it down manually, because someone made a very good point, one of the subscribers. Once it's been inhabited by wildlife, what would be the point of going over it with a mechanical mower and destroying that wildlife? So I'm thinking, if I can find some way of doing it manually, I can protect the wildlife therein. I put 2 diagonal paths here so that I can get to the centre of it, enjoy it. The dog also enjoys running up and down these paths, and from here down at this level I can see a sea of golden grass seeds gently blowing in the wind, and everywhere there are insects, beetles, bees, wasps, moths. It's absolutely alive with life. I'm so glad I tried this experiment. We are now en route to the no-dig veg plot. No-dig gardening is another concept which was brought to me by a subscriber. Essentially, what you're doing is you're not digging into the soil underneath, and you're protecting that layer of ecosystem which already exists. You're putting soil on top of cardboard. The cardboard kills the weeds, and the life underneath permeates up into that soil, and then you have a whole ecosystem. You never dig it. You're just keeping adding more organic matter on the top. This is where I will be transplanting those vegetables in the next week or so. So let's go and have a look at the wildlife garden, and in particular the Wildflower Meadow. Here is the pond which I'm still digging. Here are the 2 buddleia butterfly bushes which I pruned early on in the year. They're now producing beautiful blossom. There's my log pile, my hibernaculum, but over here on this mound of earth is the Wildflower Meadow. I'm truly astonished by the results here. Astonished is not too strong a word. All these flowers and plants came from one bag of seeds, which cost me £1.49, again from Aldi. Everywhere I look there are insects, everywhere I look there are different types of flowers. This was a bare patch of earth, and look at it now. At the back of this Wildflower Meadow I put stepping stones. They were made out of ordinary paving slabs, and I raised them off the ground so that wildlife could get underneath it. And my hope was that this Wildflower Meadow would just grow up and hide those rather ugly stepping stones. Well, look at it. It really has done itself proud. Aldi, thank you very much. I am actually going to write to Aldi customer services about this, because in terms of value, I really don't think you can get any better than that. Because I'm digging such a large wildlife pond, I've been able to extend this mound with the spoil. So next year, this Wildflower Meadow is going to continue and be twice as big as it is now. And it's bringing an abundance of life to the garden. I can see it with my own eyes. So I definitely think we finished this July garden tour update on a high with that spectacular Wildflower Meadow. I am going to finish off though with a piece to camera from the bottom of this hole which I've been digging, and this is going to be quite a large wildlife pond, 6 meters in diameter, about 3.5 foot deep, with a lovely beach area. If you want to see the results of this digging and the results of my veg plot, my herb garden, my alpine garden and more on the wildlife garden, please do subscribe to my channel, and also hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video, because it makes YouTube, the algorithm, understand that it's a good video, and I appreciate your support. Don't forget to comment below, and I'll see you soon.